Oh, what a to do today at a minute or two.
Oh, what to do to die today? A minute or two.
What's the Twin Peaks one, Magellan?
Twin Peaks.
No.
Peaks by tweaks.
No, the one that Leland says. Or Ryan, you know this probably.
You're talking about the...
Mare's Eat Oats.
Mare's Eat Oats and
Yes,
Nose Eat Oats and
yeah.
Little Lambs Eat Ivy.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
I sing that in the shower sometimes.
That's scary. That's like a scary scene.
It's like it's either that's like 40% of the time, and 40% of the time it's "Can't Hurry Love" by Phil Collins.
You mean? Okay, yeah.
Or what is that? What it's called? What's that song called?
It is You Can't Hurry Love. It's
Yeah,
Are you singing the Phil Collins one or the Supremes original?
the Phil Collins version specifically.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, I like try to do his voice and stuff.
Hello, and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 4, The ChatzRoom. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by the only thing that I ever need in my go bag. It's Magellan. Pack him up in a bag.
It never did get resolved if she had what she needed in her go bag. Mac just. Also, never mind. That's not the way that I want to be sent out of a newsroom.
With a like
throwing.
Louis Vuitton bag with like some like nice shoes and a dress in it, you mean?
Well, it's someone just like, do you have a go bag? I have a gym bag. Go.
Buy.
Where?
Where? Like, go buy a plane ticket? I'm so confused.
Do I need my toothbrush?
I'm actually also joined today by someone who is definitely not a douche on the side of angels. It's Ryan.
I'm
Ryan, hello.
going to Boston.
I'm going to Boston.
Is the way that she says it in the episode. And
She does, and it's like, wait, why did you say
it's
this?
played completely seriously. It's really weird. Hello.
Ryan,
Hello.
for people who don't know, is my co-host on Fireside Friends, the other podcast.
Yes.
It's from your secret family.
Well,
It's
Your secret
not.
Canadian
It's
family.
not that much of a secret. I mean, I don't know how much you check the internet, but it's,
Oh, I never heard of it.
we're kind of a big deal. If you Google Fireside Friends in Google, the first thing that comes up is the Hearthstone expansion. Then, obviously...
Oh, second billing.
No,
Very
second
nice.
is the thing is Fireside. It goes, did you mean Fireside Chats? Then third billing is us.
Oh.
So, Ryan, welcome to the show. I'm glad
Thank
to have
you.
you.
Thank you. This is my first time talking about the TV show. Last time I was here, we talked about Phoenix Wright. So it's nice to be on a real episode. I'm excited to talk about this bad TV show.
Aw. You have not watched the Newsroom before. Well, you've watched like the episodes with us occasionally,
Yes.
right?
I haven't seen. I've heard about it. I've seen people goof on the show, but I haven't actually seen it myself. So when you guys started the podcast, I joined along for about maybe half a season before I started feeling pain, and then just kind of stopped. I feel like the Newsroom, like watching the Newsroom is like whenever you have like a date idea that like is really good in your head, and you're gonna be like, oh, this will be fun, we'll bond over this, it'll be great, and then you actually do it and it's the worst and you were wrong. That's how I feel.
Like miniature golf.
That's how I like mini golf. I don't know.
I also.
It depends
Hang
on.
on, can we go mini golfing later?
It depends on.
Yeah, let's go.
It depends on the quality of the course.
Right.
You gotta
This is
choose
not
a good mini.
not a good
This is
course.
not. Yeah, the Newsroom is not a good mini golf course.
I think it really, the feeling that I have when I watch the Newsroom is on those mini golf holes where like there's a hill and it's supposed to go up the hill and down to the right, but the ball just keeps rolling back down to where you hit it from.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's what it feels like.
Yep.
The only good mini golf courses are the ones that feature at least one gaping mouth that you shoot the ball into, and then it misses. And you're like,
I'll think a good gaping mouth can improve. Really? Never mind.
just about it. Please, yeah. Where? Who is that character?
I don't know, but I don't like him. I just want him to leave.
What's their backstory? Give me the 5 rules of improv. Like, who are you? What do you do?
I just didn't want to give you a pass for saying the phrase "gaping mouth," but then
Listen,
I think I leaned into it much too hard.
Listen, if I'm anything, it is a master of words.
It is a gaping mouth.
It is a gaping something. Yes, that's true. Another fact is that this week we started watching season 3 of The Newsroom.
Hey, very fun.
Specifically, we watched season 3, episode 1, Boston, as well as season 3, episode 2, Run. And with Ryan, we're going to be discussing Boston. It was written by Aaron Sorkin, as always, directed by Ernest Hemingway. That's actually Anthony Hemingway. Not going to fix that. It aired November 9th, 2014, and it takes place April 15th, 2013. Magellan, what happened in this episode?
Well, in this episode, a pressure cooker bomb goes off at the finish line of the 2013 Boston Marathon. Newsnight begins the scramble to cover the story as it develops, with Maggie joining Elliot on the scene. Sloane and Don develop more sexual tension over brunch. Neil discovers that a mysterious hacker is attempting to feed him government secrets about an operation in the Sorkin versus fictional nation of Kundu, and he wrestles with whether or not he should trust this new potential source. As the marathon manhunt reaches its conclusion, Will, Mac, and Charlie discuss their future and whether or not they should leave ACN. When suddenly Sloane reveals to Reese that his twin step-siblings are planning a hostile takeover of the company.
Ooh. First of all, I just want to say I was impressed with myself for condensing 50 minutes of nonsense into that summary. It's a lot. Let's start with Ryan. What did you think of this episode?
This is so much. So I haven't watched this show since season 1, so I took notes. The first thing I noticed was that there was at least a different credit sequence than I was used to the first time I watched The Newsroom. I don't know if that's a season 3 thing or if that was a season 2 holdover.
It's I know that they are. It is different than season 2's. Season 2's was different than season 1's, but they're all vaguely similar. Like the music changes a teensy bit, and then the visuals are completely different. Yes.
Okay. Cool. One thing I noticed in that credit sequence is that someone spills their coffee all over their papers, even though like the way that the thing was framed is like, here's what happens every day during the news, and it's like, oh, you're gonna tell me that every day someone spills their coffee all over their papers.
Every day someone commits espionage and also spills their coffee on their papers. These things happen.
Yeah. But no, I thought it was ridiculous and terrible when you sit down for 2 seconds to think about it, which is all of The Newsroom basically. So it seemed pretty on par. I guess another thing is that is different from when I saw The Newsroom before was that there's a lot more music behind the scenes. It has a score to it. I was watching this with my girlfriend. She compared it to, when you're on Netflix and you like go across like the shows and it plays like generic fanfare. My girlfriend said it sounded like that, which I find really funny. But yeah, those were the main differences between old Newsroom and new Newsroom that I observed.
Everything else was
kind of. We could talk about the different ways in which it's bad, but it's still the the Newsroom.
Yeah, certainly.
Magellan, what about you?
Yeah, so Alan, you and I are both from the greater Boston area.
Correct.
And I'm sure you'll speak to your personal experience with this news story very shortly. I was in college in California at the time.
Wait, where? In where?
California.
Thank you.
At the time, no,
No.
subject
I
matter.
just wanted the word. I just wanted cauliflower for you.
Yeah, cauliflower.
Uh-huh.
I was in college in California at the time that this event took place, and I remember the day that I heard about it and being worried about my friends and about what was going on. And so I really resent that the newsroom is using this moment as a way to make its characters seem legit again.
Yep.
Like, it seems like the focus of the whole episode is just them being able to say that they're not doing the bad stuff that other news organizations are doing. And it's perfectly valid to critique TV media for being sensationalist. That's a perfectly valid criticism. And it is true that in the immediate whirlwind of this event, there were theories going this way and that way and people being accused and very little evidence. So it was a situation in which I think news media did fail the public in some way. But ultimately, we're being told that perspective as a way of saying, look, the characters, look at these characters. They're good again. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're restoring their credibility. Isn't it great? No, I don't care, because you made up this problem that they don't have credibility. And you also made up that they can win it back somehow. We're not operating in real world land, which means I just don't give a shit because you're making up the rules as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I completely agree with you. The way it is framed also is the bombing happens and then it cuts to like the different characters and what they are doing before they go to do the news. Like they're like assembling the Avengers or something. It really that was really distasteful to me. Just like, Mackenzie's doing yoga, and what she got a text message about the bombing, and she's gonna do more pull-ups before she goes and does like that.
Dawn has to avoid jury duty.
I guess they reference back to Genoa from season 2 and all this stuff, and I guess it sort of makes sense in the context of that, maybe to like prove that characters, but also they're using the Boston bombings as like a season premiere in a way that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's the problem with doing a show about the real news that happened a year ago, is you are by design using tragedies that are in everybody's recent memory to tell a story about made up people. And that just gets the show into trouble a lot of the time. I agree with your assessment that it's weird, like Avengers assembling thing. Like Maggie's with a trainer who's like, yeah, just give me, like, just the most stereotypical trainer, like, give me 5 more push-ups, you bitch. Like, come on. Yeah, you're doing, keep burning. Yeah, you're stupid and awesome.
Oh my god, the Mackenzie is stupid trope comes back in full force here. Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway, yuck. Alan, what did you think of this one?
So I agree with everything so far. I wrote this take early in my notes that I kind of wanted to break down, and I think this is like just become my ultimate problem with the newsroom, is that like this show would be so good if it was about doing the news. And we've said this time and time again. If they, because I was telling somebody about the summary of this episode last night, and their takeaway was like, man, they shouldn't have done the Boston Marathon bombings for this show. And I'm like, actually, it's like perfect because it's contemporary and it is a story, like it is a moment in history where the way that news is disseminated and reported was essential in how it was presented to people. Like, this is actually like a perfect scenario for the newsroom to cover.
Sure.
But it's for them to cover and to talk about like what it means to wait for the truth, and like what information are we waiting for, and how do we prepare and present that to an audience. But instead it's like it is backdrop, and it feels offensive, like to just be like, hey, anyways, this Boston bombing thing, and then like the people who are on the ground there who should be having the most like serious personal plot have a joke about someone having allergies and their tongue swells up and they can't say words anymore. Like,
Right.
why is
and then
that?
the huge stirring triumph of that plot, of the Elliot Maggie plot, is that Maggie can do a like 2-minute on camera segment and she has her blonde hair back. And it's like, why?
Is it just me, or did she age 10 years in a week?
Right. Yeah.
She definitely
she's so grown up now. She can do something that it doesn't seem that hard to do. And she was
and the whole, just again, the whole trope of like Maggie can't do anything. She's a dumb dummy. She can't do shit, and then she like does something, and it's like, oh, she grew up 10 years. Wow, she's an adult. It's like,
which is really
fuck
just
off.
Yeah, and what they're saying is like, oh, yay, her PTSD is gone that we made up for last season. Woohoo! It's done with. We don't have to think about that anymore. Yeah, it was
also.
It's remarkable to me how much they have erased the trauma of like the human element of what happened in season 2 and only kept the Genoa stuff. Like, people were affected and relationships were affected by that season, but really that can all be summarized in half of a sentence. And meanwhile, it's like, no, but the Genoa thing is like affecting the whole arc of season 3, which is getting the public's trust back. And it's like, that. Why did you keep that? Why did you keep the bad part of the season?
Also, like, if Maggie is so bad at her job, why don't you just fire her? Like, why? If people are just gonna be assholes to Maggie, just like fire her. Like, why? She's just kept around to be like talked down to constantly, but then she does the job, and then they still talk down to her.
And there's a whole point. I mean, Will also says something like, we're going to send Maggie, and if she messes this up, she's fired. And it's like, wow, Will, all right, this character who's like gained a lot of goodwill with you and like done a lot of amazing work, and it's like you are now giving her a single moment to keep her job is pretty fucked. But also, I have another point here, like, every time some young person on the Newsroom makes a critical error or like a clerical error, it's either Neil or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only people who make big mistakes.
Sure.
Because Neil makes mistakes that are like human errors, and it's like, oh, Neil, like, you didn't know you committed espionage, but you did, buddy. Like, that's bad, but like, you're gonna learn from it. Whereas Hallie and Maggie make these mistakes that's like, or Sloane over and over again are characters who mess up and then have to have men like talk down to them and have them explain like why, hey, if you do this again, you're gonna lose your job forever.
Yeah.
Can you believe? I guess this is the next episode. That Hallie is about to get fired because she sent a tweet making fun of Republicans or something, and Neil committed espionage, and they're like, buddy, you committed espionage. That's kind of not a good thing. We got to protect you. We got to figure out what to do for you. Just the double standard is fucking ridiculous.
And hers is so much more respectful of herself. Like, she's like, all right, well, whatever. We'll talk about that in the second episode. But the way that they handle
Neil,
Neil,
that might be this. I think that's this episode, though. Maybe
no, it's not. I don't remember.
Whatever.
No,
Sorry.
it's the second. I
second one.
I took meticulous separation notes, but like Neil's the way that they handle like, you did a thing that's really bad. They don't tell him like, you need to be an adult and like work up to it or apologize for it and fix your mistake. They're like, no, you just go, dude. You got to run away. We can't have you going to jail. You're like a dude.
Yeah, plan A is tell nobody, and plan B is run away.
Leave the country. I briefly just wanted to talk about how this episode was really important to me because I was in Boston the day of this event. I was like at the finish line for most of the day, and then shitty 2013 college Alan was like, let's go to my friend's dorm room in BU and get drunk. And first we wanted to like get lunch at this Thai food place, and I specifically remember like checking Twitter right around the time of people that were supposedly finishing and hearing about this. And then we go up to his dorm room and it's just locked down. Nobody's leaving. All the trains are shut down, and we are just glued to the news, and like 3 different people have their laptops out. Like a very dire state of affairs while we were in the moment. It felt pretty scary. It felt like this could just be like, maybe this is a larger scale attack. I think that's the problem with the way that was reported, was it felt like it was so, people were at such a rush to point fingers that it almost felt like, oh my God, anyone could be a criminal now. Anyone could be trying to attack this city. when it really just turned out to be a couple of young kids with some bad ideas, some terrible people. And then like the manhunt stuff was even more interesting to me because like that night after I finally was able to go home, I was like again on Twitter all night and just watching people spread that same Reddit thread where they were like accusing the wrong person, Sunil Tripathi, and like sending death threats to his sister. Like all of that was real, and I remember reading about all of that like as it was happening, and it was so scary.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I realized was like all you need as a news company when reporting this is like just wait for facts to come out. Like everybody seemed like they were at such a rush to say something and to report something instead of just like say, hey, this is ongoing and we're working on figuring it out, that I got like 10 different accusations that evening before I said, fuck it, I'm going to bed. And when I woke up the next morning, they had the real guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's this like, it was like a moment for like American journalism to just like realize, hey, it's not always good that social media allows us this like instant refresh. I need to know what's happening in the last 30 seconds moments. Like I think Hallie is even like looking at tweets during all of this and being like, there are people who were there that are saying they know what happened. Why can't we report on that? And it's like, well, because you can't, like, people can say anything. It's really messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It was a really scary time. And I think the city has like changed a lot because of it. I think a lot of people are like much more guarded with like how they present things and how they talk about things on the internet as they're happening. But I don't know. I just like had to bring up that perspective because it struck very weirdly to me while watching this episode.
Yeah, and that is such. You're right that is a story that's worth telling in the context of a show that is reflecting on the current state of journalism, and at least on some level is about doing the news right. Like, what does that mean? That's not a bad thing to motivate a show, but it gets lost or it gets corrupted by this weird Sorkin ideology of like the internet sucks, Twitter is bad, we're better than all of this. Right. The point is to be the most noble out of all of our competitors. Like these amazing rich white people in their tower in New York are going to save the world by saying the right words.
You can't be an online journalist. You got to do it for real because social media reporting isn't accurate. Nobody can be a poor journalist ever.
Right. So it's just so, and then, God, I mean, I think the moment of this episode that bothered me the most and that drove home just how tonally completely wrong it was the moment where everybody in the newsroom finds out that CNN had to retract something. Right.
Yep, this is the scene I was about to talk about, yeah.
They had to retract a detail, so everybody's cheering, like,
yep.
Yeah, fuck you, CNN, you messed up, we didn't do it. And then Will and Charlie come out, and they scold them in this weird kind of pace around the room, like Fight Club
like a
sort
rap
of way.
Solo or something, a rap
and then
duet.
they high-five each other afterwards.
Yeah. They do a behind-the-back high-five, like, whew, dodge that one, huh? Boop. God, it sucked.
You can't, like, this was another big thing I kept noticing in both episodes. The newsroom is, like, trying to be self-conscious a little bit and being like, hey, sometimes we are, like, a little bit too proud of ourselves. But then again, you have Charlie and Will, like, good job, we nailed it. We got those dumb idiot kids. Also, but like, it's not criticizing the news media, it's criticizing the youth.
But also, like, the Boston bombing, at least for the first maybe half the episode, is presented with some sort of weight, despite, you know, you have the Avengers assembling and Will and Mackenzie talking about getting married in a weird way, whatever. But like, there's a score when the bombings happen. There's like some sort of, you know, they acknowledge that this was a bad thing that happened, and then to have the plot go on and to have the newsroom of ACN literally stand up and cheer because CNN got the reporting wrong instead of going back to work and to actually do journal. Like, I have no clue what they were going for there. And then to have Will and Charlie give a high five because they're celebrating talking down their newsroom, just also like they're having their cake and eating it too. Like, I have no idea what they were trying to do with that. I don't know what they were trying to criticize other than it being completely self-serving to remember in season 2 when they got the news wrong. Well, they're celebrating the fact that they didn't get the news wrong this time. There's no other lens for me to look at that scene otherwise.
Yeah, there is. There's just so much of like people being like the young people saying like, social media is gonna solve. Like, I think Neil literally has the line, "Social media is going to solve this crime," and then it's just perfect dramatic irony to be like, this is what you get for trusting in that technology. Like, it's pointing fingers at an audience. It's like, this is the audience watching your show, is young people trying to like grow up and understand journalism, and you're telling them like, no, this way that things are reported is wrong and wrong-headed and will lead to like horrible dissemination of lies and misinformation. And speaking of just embarrassing things in general, I also when they're talking about like the motivations of the people who did this, they're reading like tweets from Mr. Tripathi, the guy who was wrongfully accused, and he says like, all you need in Boston is a police scanner and the internet, and you can solve all the crimes in the world. And then Gary, our like terribly written token black guy, is like, wow, and I just bought a plasma TV for nothing. And then like off-screen character's like, how big? And he's like, 28 inches, baby, the whole ride. And you're like, you were just talking about like an act of terrorism. You can't make this funny. You cannot make this like the black guy has a funny joke.
Just the Gary gets so few lines. I just want to be inside the head of that actor. Like, this week, here's the one thing I get to say that they've written for me.
I could talk about
try
a girl's
to construct a character that makes sense around this.
All his lines are either like tonally inappropriate or horribly sexist or both. Like,
right.
Oh, also a newsroom thing is like somebody predicting something that was going to happen that there's no way they could have known. Like earlier in the episode, Charlie's like, "This is gonna be a manhunt," and it's like, how do you know?
Why'd you know that?
How? You know that because it's written like a couple years later. That's how you know.
Yeah. Right.
And they don't even like. I always thought the most interesting stuff about that story wasn't the moment it happened, because like I wasn't physically at the finish line when it happened, but I definitely like went from, I was on the train going somewhere, and then a bunch of people looked really sad and were all staring at their phones, and that's how I knew that there was something going on. What was more interesting was the manhunt. Like, was this young guy like in a car chase, like escaping into Watertown and hiding in someone's boat in their backyard, and that gets one line at the end of the episode. And they don't talk about like the Homeland Security. And like, I remember reading tweets where people were like, hey, there are people driving down the street in armored cars with battering rams, and I have school tomorrow. Like, just this like suburban nightmare that was happening during all of that. None of that gets covered. It's just like, all right, we got the guy. It's time for us to set up the plot of our dumb third season of our show.
Because the episode is more concerned about identifying the people who did it than it is resolving the matter. Because the minute they identify who it is, they just fill the rest of the episode with all the other plots that will kick into the rest of the season.
It's real bad. I do like it when the newsroom does the news, but someone made a deliberate choice to be like, all right, well, once we like report who the guy is, I mean, nothing else matters. Like, we get to be proud that we waited and didn't report it as being anybody else. Like, good job, you got it, guys. Now what? And they have that whole the interview with Tsarnaev's like friend from high school, who's like, yeah, Joe liked Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead.
Right.
Also, he seemed pretty cool, but also he thought 9/11 was justified.
Right. Right.
He's just a normal teen. He likes HBO shows and cartoons. Also,
also true.
I love the newsroom because you could Because let's be real, Aaron Sorkin doesn't know shit about reporting or journalism or anything. Because nobody would report it like maybe in like a news but package like later on, like as he was like an ordinary kid just like us. But like if it's like on the cusp of a breaking news story, you would just lead with that. You wouldn't be like, yeah, I like Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. Like nobody would do that.
Yeah, you're burying the lead.
100%.
Let's talk about a different part of the episode.
Well, I mean, since when do they put walnuts in chicken salad, you know?
Why? So the only result of his allergy is that his tongue swells up?
My tongue swelled up because it's funny.
I thought he was going to have to go to the hospital or something.
It's like Star Trek 2009.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Oh, that was so bad. I literally just like looked up and his tongue was swollen. I was like, oh, I guess this is happening now.
Yeah, it's instant. And then Maggie like tries to be an adult, and she's like, I can get an EpiPen for you. Like, we're in a modern cosmopolitan city. Do you want me to just get you something? He's like, no, my night, this is ruined. We can't do it. We can't do the news. Like, people have allergic reactions all the time. Like, also, you should have checked what was in your fucking salad. Walnuts are easily identifiable. What are you doing?
Nothing else is shaped like a walnut.
Yeah, walnut is like the most distinct nut.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And we get lots of bad shots of the two of them like composited in front of the State House, and composited in front of like definitely not actually there. Right. I think I remember reading like when The Departed came out. Because there's like a really famous shot in The Departed where one of the main characters is in his apartment, and from one window you can see the State House, and from the other one you can like he's next to the John Hancock building, and it's like, wait a minute, those aren't actually close to each other in that way. What do you? Like they just put Boston.jpg in the background, and it felt like they were doing that here. Where it's like, look, it's the State House. It's got the big gold building. Yeah. Because it's also really hard to film in Boston Common for licensing reasons. But anyway, sorry, I'm weird. The other stuff is just Neil with the hacker. Do we have anything to say about Neil and his hacker friend?
Not really. My girlfriend got grumpy when he bought a new computer.
The pronouns thing?
That pronouns thing, we can talk about that later. But when he got the like computer that it wasn't supposed to be connected to the internet, whatever, but it had a Windows on it, like you wouldn't have Windows on that. You would just have like Linux or something.
Yeah.
He bought it from a Best Buy.
But yeah, that felt like a whole bunch of nothing that will be explored later in the season.
It's just kind of that weird hint of paternalism when everyone's like, "No, Neil, that's stupid," and then Will says,
"Yes,
hey, kid,
yes,
go buy yourself an air gap computer."
It's like go buy yourself a gumball or something.
Yeah.
Go buy yourself an extremely expensive.
This money means nothing to me. Earlier in this episode, I was having a conversation with my fiance about like Versace dresses or something, and how we all know famous people. So, go buy yourself something.
Fuck that scene where they're like, "Who should we invite to our wedding?" No, what's Brian Williams up to?
So much.
Let's start the season with something everyone can.
They're getting married, and Will is talking about, "Oh, you wouldn't cheat on all these men if you were left alone." You know, it's like, fuck off. Why are you getting married?
Yeah.
I said this last week, but a marriage that was based on like a dramatic public proposal is like semi-doomed at this point. Just like there's there's like very little respect in their relationship, it feels like to me. And also all the jokes like name dropping different news people, like this is actually a cabal where everyone who works in American news media knows each other. Like, oh, should we invite like Diane's? She goes like, oh, we're gonna have Diane on the left, and he's like, who's Diane? She's like, Diane Sawyer.
Yeah,
my friend Diane. And he's like, yeah, I can't bring Brian Williams. You'll be staring at him the whole time. And the guy is stop referencing.
And he's like, I cultivate no friendships outside of work. It's like, who the fuck are you?
Well, I'm the audience viewpoint character. God. And I hate everything.
Oh God, Will as the audience viewpoint character makes me very self-loathing.
Who do you think the audience viewpoint character is?
Well, no, I mean you're kind of right, at least in these scenes. But
I guess it's supposed to be Maggie.
I get like Jim.
I don't know. For me, it's Dawn.
I know for you, it's Dawn, man. I know that.
I mean, I look at Dawn and I see, It's like, yeah.
I see me in 5 years. Like, yeah. That's the dream. For me, it's
wait,
Reese.
does Dawn do anything notable in this episode?
Him and Sloane just like chat.
They just talk about.
Oh,
nothing.
right.
She
right.
She has a Bloomberg terminal.
Oh my god! All of the Sloane
my
stuff
roommate-
in this episode. Oh my god!
Yeah, my roommate works for Bloomberg, so that was a nice thing for me.
Okay,
Oh,
so what?
yeah.
Okay, what is the difference between a Bloomberg terminal and a computer with a bunch of screens on it?
Well, the terminal is like special software for monitoring financial markets and stuff, and it has all this like special data and I don't know, whatever stuff.
It loads Excel really fucking fast, okay? It's very fast.
It's like actually a pretty expensive and complex set of tools for people who are involved in finance and that sort of thing. So it's like a real thing.
Yeah.
But it's just used in such a dumb way of, yeah, I have my Bloomberg terminal. And he's like, the $25,000 computer can't do this?
Also, yeah.
What's up with this $25,000 computer? Buy Bloomberg today.
Yeah, also, like, the way it's presented is like the end of, like, The Dark Knight with the fucking big computer screen. That's what it's presented as to me. I don't know. Can we talk about the fact... So I couldn't follow the actual material storytelling of the Sloane plot at all. I couldn't follow any of it. But the thing that stood out to me was that she calls a former student of hers.
Yeah.
And for information or whatever, I don't know, I forget what it was exactly, but the student like hits on her for no reason. Like, can you imagine like having a professor call you they need you to work on something? They're offering you a job and you're just like, "Hi, professor, are you single?" Like, what the fuck? Yes. What is that?
And you're essentially your boyfriend is right there. Like, yeah, you're single. We need this. Like, pretend to be single. That's basically.
And then I hate puns. And then Don goes, it's what did he say? Sometimes puns can be punny. That's a bad pun.
It's not a good pun.
What is wrong with you?
And basically their plot, because I'm trying to get this episode not mixed up with the second one, because they do get stuff to do in the second one. But this one, it's just them. True. It's on that phone call, and then it's her being like, was that a wordplay or was that a pun? And then her big reveal at the end was like, it was wordplay. Oh my god, they're gonna buy out the company. Like, wait, what did I miss? What connection did I miss?
Yeah, none of it made sense.
Because
that connects us to Reese and how Reese is like we like him.
Yeah, Reese is absolutely the hero now.
Yeah, he's just totally bought into wanting to do the news right in a way that doesn't make sense at all.
That's the like first line from the second episode. That's what I ended up calling Ryan. Was he goes, "I'm a douche on the side of angels," and you're like, Reese, you can't. Who's man? You cannot talk like that, dude. Because like late last season, we were like, wow, Leona is like deciding to be nice, I guess, and now Reese is like,
it makes more sense for her to do it than for him to do it.
She has business reasons to do it. He's just doing what his mom is doing.
Yeah, but now he seems bought into it. Like I buy that Leona on some level cares about doing the news right because she and Charlie are friends or something, and she, I don't know, maybe when you get older you start to care less about money and want to do good with your legacy. But for Reese, he's a young guy.
He has no reason to have
rich.
stake in the game like this.
Yeah. At least from what we knew about him already.
Yeah. Right, and so just like late midnight hour twist, Reese has twin half-siblings who turned 25 in like a week or something, or like a very short amount of time. Basically the amount of time that season 3 takes place. And he finds out from Sloane that what they're planning to do is they're going to get a bunch of stocks on their 25th birthday. and they're going to use those to to then buy a majority stake in the company, which they are then going to sell to some random other company for profit, and not care about what actually happens to the people who work there. Oh no, we have villains now. They just invented new people. They just invented villains.
Yeah.
Why did this show doesn't need villains? It's like a show about real life. It doesn't need this like cackling Digimon third season, like petting his cat, evil person, Giovanni season 8, whatever.
Right.
Oh my god, why did you put villains in the newsroom? Ugh, this season is profoundly flawed in some really fascinating ways. And we see it unfold over the whole time, so I'm kind of excited to talk about it, but all of it's bad.
Can we talk about the scene on the roof, the last scene?
Yep.
One,
I was about to get
all
through
right.
this.
One, they couldn't afford to shoot on a real roof. Great.
The worst green screen I've ever seen.
Incredible.
Like, look at Will's hair during any of those shots. Like, his hair is green. It's amazing.
It's really good. This like super dramatic scene that's supposed to, flow into the rest of your season, and you couldn't shoot on a roof. That's really good.
Oh my god.
2, the gender stuff, which was terrible, where Neil is talking about the source, and Will goes, why are you saying he? He's like, oh, I'm just using it, as the default way to talk about this dude. And then he keeps going, and then he goes like he or she, and then he goes they, and then he goes the source. And it's like, stop. Just stop.
Stop. Neil, you're extremely online. You should have learned about the singular they by now. What's wrong with you, dude?
Right. It just seems like he's being used as a mouthpiece for Sorkin to comment on.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh my god. When I was in high school, I had this argument with my stepdad about like, oh, what's the problem? He is, that's the default, and they is a plural pronoun. It doesn't make any sense. What are you gonna say? They is or something? And it's just like, why? Why does this need to be something that you take to your grave?
Yeah.
Why can't there be flexibility in the way that we use these words? If everybody's using them in a certain way, then sorry, but language, that's how language works. And now this is the way that we're talking. And it just makes you look silly to be clinging to he means anybody.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think Sorkin is like putting his flag in the dirt of he doesn't think that language changes, because I think at the end of this episode, I think it's in this one when Leona comes through, or no, it's in the second one. Leona's not in this episode, but this is just related. She says like, Webster's dictionary just changed the definition of literally to not mean literally anymore.
Yeah, same thing.
But I will literally like burn your house down or something. It's like that's like, words change. No word means anything unless we prescribe it meaning. Like it's so simple, dude. Come on.
Third thing I wanted to bring up, they're talking about the news. They're talking about, ACN as a network and how they did on the job. And then Will goes, you know who did well this week? The police. Like,
oh, I forgot about that line. Oh,
where
God, Sorkin's totally...
are your priorities? Like, oh, the police did such a good job of
our boys, and
not giving away their sources and telling reporters what happened. Like, what are you saying? What is that supposed to mean?
Wowee, yeah.
If the Newsroom went on for one more season, they would have gone to Black Lives Matter. They were one season away.
Oh, I don't need to see that world.
Nope. No, me neither.
Nope.
But like, it could have happened.
No,
it totally
thank
would have
you.
happened.
And then the final thing I wanted to bring up was just the way that this episode is edited is terrible. The cuts between like the days and stuff. And then when it
hard cuts with the black,
hard cuts, it just smash cut to day 1, day 2, whatever. And then the way that this episode cuts to credits is so bad.
What was it?
It's like we're not in the middle of the third act. We're in the first.
We just got to
the end of the first or whatever, and then it cuts. Yeah. And it's always like mid conversation and never feels natural. It's just, I guess this was a cut. All right.
Yeah. it makes me think, Alan, of what you said earlier about how they're sort of discarding the human reality of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it also makes me think, Ryan, about how you are watching season 1 and then season 3. Like they're just trying to make season 2 disappear. There really was never a reason to watch season 2. And I don't know. Yeah, they're just like, yeah, we know the characters are kind of in the exact same spot that they started, but now we're really gonna start telling the story. And I was frustrated by that.
That was 9 episodes. It was 9 episodes that they just throw out the window, and they're like, anyways, we got shit to do. And sit in this incredibly truncated season.
Also, I have no idea what the development of this season was, but to be like, this is the start of the first act, and then you look on Amazon, there's like 5 episodes left. Like, good job. Good job.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, I'd like to look into that specifically more. Like, at what point did they know that it wasn't going to keep going?
Canceled. Yeah.
Because this season is 6 episodes, y'all. It's the shortest single television season I think I've ever seen.
Well, it reaches an ending, right?
Yes, it does.
Like, it doesn't just okay.
It doesn't like end in the middle of a story. It does definitely have an ending, but it's short length shows, and it just feels like they skip a ton. But it'll be interesting because I think one of our biggest complaints with like season 2 obviously was this didn't need to be this long. So maybe it's partly like
or
they
at
took
least that storyline, that season-long storyline, didn't need to be that long.
Right. I think
Yeah.
Neil, like almost going to jail, should probably be a couple of episodes. That's not something you can deal with fast. I hope.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's everything I have though for this episode.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's it for me as well.
Oof.
All right.
Oh my god. Oh, that was I think I was long, if not longer than the episode itself. Good stuff. I love it.
Boston. They go to Boston. She tells them to go to Boston under like dramatic music. Ugh. It's so bad.
We're going to Beacon Hill. Oh man, what a place, what an episode, and what a season. Ryan, thank you.
Thanks for having me on. This was fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cathartic. See, like a lot of people ask me when I say that we're talking about the Newsroom, like, oh man, like God bless you for continuing with this, and it's like I don't want to quit. I don't want to stop. I'm gonna beat this show. I already watched all of it. Magellan's in it for the long run as well. We have no reason to stop doing this. Like
I'm basically done at this point.
Yeah, we're on the home stretch.
The home stretch, almost there. I would never have done this. I would have gotten way too mad.
And I've even had people, because like we just briefly, like we try to be positive on the show and like have meaningful criticism to say about things, but I don't think
we can say that about ourselves anymore.
No,
for this one, I don't think we try that hard with the Newsroom.
But like people tell me like, oh, I love hearing you guys like rip on shows, and it's like I don't want us to be the podcast where we just like suffer through bad shows. Like absolutely not.
I think it's nice. I think it's important to do that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because shows are different and have different levels of quality, and if we're to have any integrity as commentators or whatever, we are going to like some things and not like some things. But yeah, I don't want this to be my life.
Yeah. Also the Newsroom.
The
Newsroom is also a show that is very easy to dump on, just because it's very indicative of Aaron Sorkin's worldview, which is just like weird centric. I mean, I think Magellan nailed the show to a T last episode, where it's like a weird swan song for centrism, and that's like Aaron Sorkin like down to a T, and it's very easy to make fun of that viewpoint because of how outdated it is and how toxic it is. And also I'm going to school for journalism right now, and the spots where Aaron Sorkin clearly doesn't know how journalism would ever work is hilarious. There's that one scene in season 1 where there's that like Will McAvoy gives an apology, and they roll like a 9/11 speech from like Congress or something, where he's apologizing for like the victim of 9/11, and then it cuts to Will McAvoy giving like maybe like a 3-minute speech apologizing for what they did on the news. I don't know I forget the context, but like nobody would run that. That's way too long. You're not actually covering any news, and like the blind spots of Aaron Sorkin using the idea of a news network to just espouse what he thinks the world should operate as is really weird. And yeah, I don't know. It's just fun to pick apart that stuff, especially as someone who has a little bit of insight into that stuff. But yeah,
for sure.
Right, I imagine like it would be really fun for you to watch the show and see like what your potential future career could look like, but it's not this. Like, there's no,
nope,
not even close. But I do appreciate your perspective, Ryan. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, this was fun.
Do you have anything online that you would like to plug?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Ryan Persad MC. That's RyanPersaudMC. That's my official like work account, I guess. And you can find me on Fireside Friends. That's firesidefriends.net. And that's kind of it. That's all we got. That's all I got.
You got big things coming in the future, yeah.
Big things coming, but that's a little bit ways from now. I guess
True.
Follow my account, and then a month from now there'll be a thing.
Yeah. Ooh, teaser. I love it. So yeah, Magellan, let's take a quick break, and we will be back to discuss Run.
Welcome back to the ChatzRoom. The second episode we watched this week was Season 3, Episode 2, Run, which was written by Aaron Sorkin, directed by Greg Mottola, aired November 16th, 2014, and takes place, presumably, the week following last week's episode, sometime in April of 2013. I am still here with Alan. Alan, how's it going?
Hi, I'm here. I'm doing well.
Tell me what happened in Run.
In this episode, we are introduced to Reese's half-siblings and their full plan to take over ACN. When they receive a majority stock share on their upcoming birthday, they're going to sell off the company to Savannah Capital and take all of the profit for themselves. Leona comes in and offers to buy their shares for a whopping $4 billion, which she doesn't actually have. Meanwhile, Neil, Will, Mac, and Rebecca Halliday discuss how to avoid getting Neil charged with espionage for asking his hacker source to provide more info. Mac meets with one of her FBI friends at a shooting range and learns that almost no journalist gets charged with espionage and things should be fine. Meanwhile, Maggie runs into an EPA employee on a bus. A train? His name is Richard, and he's loudly talking on the phone off the record with a journalist about the failings of President Obama. She enlists the help of law professor Jack to help her record the conversation, and when she finally reveals what she did to Richard, they discuss the unfair practices of modern journalists and how unfair it is for them to run the story, considering that she knew he was speaking off the record. In other crime news, Hallie fires herself from Newsnight for posting a critical tweet on their official account. Don accidentally commits insider trading, and Neil forces his superior's hand by asking a government source to confirm the hacker's info. In the rush to get Neil off the grid, the FBI execute a search warrant on the office, and Will and Neil give him the sources. Will has Neil give him the source's name before giving him the signal to get out of the office and escape the law. Beefy episode.
Beefy, that's right.
Very beefy.
Where do you want to start?
Amazing question.
How did you feel? And then talk about Maggie. How did you feel about this one?
It's super dumb. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of logical leaps.
All right.
And we are just continuing the trend of like characters and side plots introduced just for Sorkin to be like, get it? It's criticism. Like the whole, like the Maggie stuff, like just to jump into it, feels to me like it existed exclusively to have that final conversation where he's like, it's not fair. Journalists always take us out of context. And she's like, it's my job. Let me do my job that I get paid very little for. Because that guy's just a cartoon dummy. Like, my God. He just is on the phone with his journalism person, and he's like, can I go off the record? And the guy's like, yeah. And he's like, all right. Looks up from his seat, looks around for like 1 second, and goes, all right, I guess I can say some like super controversial stuff now. This counts. And like loudly is like, President Obama sucks. He's mistaken about the environment. And it's like you're not a real you're not a real person. What did you think of like the whole episode though?
I think we maybe made this joke earlier, but this is just the episode where several of the cast accidentally stumble into committing a major crime.
Yeah.
And they're pretty blasé about it at first. So it's like, oh no, Neil, you committed espionage, bud. Whoopsie. Bad. You did bad. Oh, Don, you did some insider trading? Ah, shoot. You're right. Got those stocks a little too early. Duh.
Gotta fix that.
Bummer.
It's literally like Aaron Sorkin like took a book of like white collar crimes that the characters could get arrested for and was like, this seems fun. Like let's just let's just throw it in the pot.
Yeah.
Like fireable offenses and actual illegal stuff just get lumped into this big season. This is like the whole season is this, by the way. Is it we're like, even though this is supposed to be a season about like regaining the public's trust, it's also about like not getting in trouble for the crimes that you committed.
Yeah.
It's kind of a lot. It's just that it's a really weird, bad way to drum up high stakes. Because like Dawn and Sloane's plot shouldn't actually have any tension. Like I'm actually fine with Dawn and Sloane just have like talk about their relationship and like what it means to have like a modern day young people relationship while also working at the same company in this way. It doesn't also have to be like, hey Dawn, how do you not get arrested? Why did you? He buys stocks early based on Sloane's advice from her Bloomberg terminal, and then he's like, it's fine, I bought Chipotle stock, and she's like, uh-oh, did you buy it at like a minute early? And he's like, yeah, and it's like, well, all right, you're gonna go to jail now. And also we're dating, so they'll like super know that I did it and you did it and we did it together.
Wait, we're dating, babe?
Wait, yeah, right. That's the big deal. Like the summary that I based this summary that I wrote off of, because I always try to like start with a base of something, makes a point to say that the conclusion of their plot is Jim finds out they're sleeping together, and it's like, who cares, dude? They have this bad scene when they go up in the elevator, and she's like, at least the sex was good, and then Jim's like, hey guys.
That's rude.
They have this like long elevator ride where they're just like, like you heard it. All right, moving right along. Let's be adults, I guess. There's just, I'm gonna try and let me see if I can dig into my notes. I definitely had a lot to say in the moment about the Maggie stuff, because first of all, like I said, the Richard guy is just ridiculous, like being way too loud about this private knowledge and literally not literally, but basically becoming a puppet for the average like government employee to talk about the unfairness of journalism.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When like really she tells him like, you could have just gone to a private room, like you could have just you can have this conversation. I'm not saying you can't, like the media isn't preventing you from having a personal life or whatever. It's not holding you to that sort of standard. Just don't make it that easy for me to catch you. Like I can't, and don't expect me to like somehow have to take a higher ground and not report this. Like it is my job to choose to report this. And she tells him like, if you really want, it's not that big of a deal, I won't report it. And he's like, well, he doesn't get it. Like that does not mentally click in his brain. He's like, I don't understand what you're saying. And she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna report it. And he's like, no, but you're a journalist. All journalists report everything. She just makes a fool out of him. It's a really weird exchange.
It's such an odd plot,
yeah. It's just an excuse, because the comedy of it to me is that she does all of that and has no time to tell anyone that, because as soon as she gets back to New York, she's like, what's going on? Oh God, the FBI is here.
Does that character recur, the ethics professor guy?
Jack?
Yeah.
I think maybe.
Seemed like that was supposed to be a romantic thing, maybe, right?
I mean, he's the other example of somebody being gross on this show. Like you were talking about how in the first episode, somebody's like Sloane's student is like, "Hey, how's it going? Do you want to go out?" And this guy is like, "Hey, thanks for letting me help you with your like news stuff. He's like, I want to call you." He doesn't say like, Like I want to go out with you. He's like, I'd like to call you.
Huh.
That actor is super gross. He's Jimmy Simpson's the actor's name.
I think he's pretty good.
No, he's very good. He just plays that like slimy dude extremely well.
Right. Well, that's why he was on It's Always Sunny as like the slimy dude. One of the slimy dude brothers. Whatever
That's
they're
true.
called.
He's on like 24 and Always Sunny and Psych, and he's in a bunch in like CSI. Like he's been in a ton of stuff. I think he was on House of Cards also. Yeah, wasn't he a hacker on House of Cards?
Yes. Yep.
In like the first season, he was like, I am the guy who has a terminal like hacking device in my house.
Yep.
Shut down the government. Yeah, great guy. But she gets back to New York and is like, oh god, the FBI's here, which we have to build up to that. I think that's a lot. There is a lot of conversations between Halliday and Will, Mac, and Neil where like all of the dramatic tension just comes from Halliday being like, hey, what did you do, Neil? Like, just tell me what you did. As a, like, her lawyerness is just like, hey, confirm to me what you did. Okay, I'm going to tell you what crime you committed.
Right. Yeah, there's no legal strategy. She's just like, yeah, okay, you're fucked. So
Exactly.
Sorry about that.
Let's see. Check. Yeah, jail for life. Yep. Okay, cool. Anyways, 50 grand, please. It's this weird criticism of lawyers that Sorkin is just like, that's what they do. You just tell me what I did wrong, and then you try to get me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically like, no, we can't, like, Neil can't go to jail. That's so unfair. And Mackenzie just has an FBI source, which makes sense. Like, you should have an FBI source, probably. As a journalist, that's probably just a safe thing to do. And they shoot guns in the gun range, and they have these bad jokes about, like, Mackenzie's a lady who can't shoot guns, but I'm like a cool lady who's good at shooting guns.
Mm-hmm.
Much unnecessary. And then she's like, yeah, no journalist has ever been charged with espionage. They always get charged with contempt, and then that's like a year or two and maximum of like 10 years in prison, and that's it. Like, he'll probably be fine. And the funny thing is that only serves A, to prove that no, he's not fine, and B, that character comes back in the final scene where Mackenzie is like, no, you too? And she's like, I work for the FBI. Like, I came here because it's my work. Just because I'm your friend doesn't mean I'm going to like not do the work of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Like, it's just supposed to give us an emotional attachment to the people at the FBI in that scene, I guess. I don't know. It's really, this episode just kind of like spins its wheels a lot. There another big one. Obviously, Hallie posting that spicy tweet about the Republicans. She's so quick to hate herself here. Which, like, first of all, why is Callie working here? Hallie. Sorry, I got it. No, I got it. I wrote it wrong on my notes. I got it.
Right.
Why is Hallie working here now?
I don't know.
It's because they like that actress. She's Meryl Streep's daughter, by the way.
That makes sense to me. Like a visual, she does look like Meryl Streep's daughter. That's cool.
Definitely.
She doesn't act like Meryl Streep's daughter, but whatever. That was maybe too harsh. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know why she's here. Just because Jim needs a romantic interest or something? Is that why?
But she's gone in 2 episodes.
Does she not come back? Like, is that it for her?
She might come back in the show, but she's out of the job. Like, what I mean is, like, why did they give her they gave her the job just to fire her?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So they could have a character, because she's basically what happens is Neil normally posts every 30 minutes to the ACN Twitter account, and he's busy getting charged with espionage. So she's like, I'll post for him, and posts at like 2 a.m. or something. Some joke about, like, I think I can remember the wording was vaguely something like Republicans are happy about the Boston Marathon bombing because it's finally a like terrorist attack in America that doesn't involve guns or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, it was a good joke. And then like 30 minutes later, I realized it was a bad joke and I deleted it, but news people picked it up. And I'm probably going to get in trouble and I should probably quit, right? And it's an opportunity again for Jim to tell a woman how to feel about her own feelings.
Right.
And he's like, no, you should, like, you have to like bring this up to Charlie. Like, you don't get to make this decision on your own. You have to like see what the bosses think about this. So she brings it to Charlie and Will, and then Charlie's like, yeah, like I would love to keep you around, but that's like that would look really bad for us, and I would love to put out a statement that says we fired you and not actually fire you, but that would be also kind of like semi-illegal, like so just leave.
Yikes.
Give me your badge and gun and like bye-bye. And she's like, all right, fine.
There's just
and that's it.
There's no character, there's no person in the world who would have tweeted that and thought, that was a good idea. It doesn't
He
make
asks
any
her,
sense.
he's like, why would you tweet that? And she's like, retweets. And then he goes quiet. Like, I like to think that was him going, wait, which one's retweets again? Shit, what does that even mean again? His old man brain is forgetting how the
I
internet
guess
works.
it's just another moment for Sorkin to like attack Twitter.
Yeah, he really loves doing that, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it does. It doesn't make any sense.
Nothing in this show makes any more sense. We're in season 3 of a dying show. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Will yells at Neil at some point and makes multiple jokes about how much he likes Dr. Pepper. Speaking of things that don't make any sense, Dr. Pepper's a bad soda.
What?
What? I'm just kidding. You know
Good
what's really
idea.
good? The vanilla Dr. Pepper.
That is really good. Yeah, you're right.
I hadn't had a soda in many years, and then last night I had stomach pains and I had a Canada Dry, so I think that counts as like cheating on my no soda ban.
It's good stuff, though.
Which one, Canada Dry or
Oh
soda?
yeah, Canada Dry.
Canada Dry is pretty good. It's like sweeter than I remembered. All soda is sweeter than you remember when you haven't had it for
Right,
like
because
8
it's just
years.
pure sugar.
It's sugar, carbonated sugar, yes.
Mhm.
And my whole thing was I had to decarbonate it because I wanted to drink it as a like help for my stomach. But anyways, no one cares. I can't. What's this line? I can't believe I'm getting Dawn Kiefered. Oh, that's just like Dawn being stupid to Sloane. She's like being dodgy about them being a couple, and he's like, "Don't be cagey. That's what I do." And then she does it, and he's like, "I'm being Dawn Kiefered." At least he knows. Again, the show being like kind of self-aware in ways that don't feel useful.
Yeah, I like Don and Sloane being sequestered in their own plots where they can just hang out. That seems nice.
And occasionally they talk to Will and Charlie, and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna get bought out. Anyways, bye. We're gonna go get brunch."
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna go get a brunch buffet.
A brunch buffet. No,
Yeah.
that was right.
Yep.
That was, first of all, I want to go to a brunch buffet. Let's go sometime. Second of all that food looked great. Third of all, what is it with jokes about like this girl's cool because she eats a lot of food?
I don't know.
Isn't that a thing? Like where it's just like this girl, like she's got a stomach, like that's a keeper right there.
But she's still skinny, bro.
But she's still super thin. Bring me waffles, but like sometimes I just like to sit at home and watch Netflix, but I'm also so super hot. I'm a college professor, and yet I have to talk about because the setup for that joke is like I said in a magazine that I'm on a crazy diet, but really I just have a good metabolism, so feed me. The media can't know that I love food, which is super stupid.
So dumb.
And they're just talking and having sexual tension, I guess, more of that. He hails her a cab at the end, which seemed weird to me because it's 2013 and they're still hailing cabs.
Yeah.
Have you ever hailed a
'cause
cab
they're
in your
rich, dude? Like if you're
You would
rich,
think-
if you're rich and a little older, then people are still hailing cabs.
You think so?
Yeah, I've seen it happen
Oh, wow.
in New York.
Because I remember seeing in New York, like, they'd still have the yellow taxi cabs, and those are the ones that are, like, running out of business because of fucking Uber and Lyft and whatever. But I would have thought that the rich people would have just immediately latched on to ride-sharing services. But I get, no, yeah, because you don't want, like, randos in your car also. So there's that.
Yeah, I don't know what
Like
the
upper
logic
class
is,
people
but people still
just
use
briefly-
cabs.
That's the conclusion of their plot. Neil considers flushing some evidence down the toilet, and then he's like, "No, I locked it in a file cabinet in my room, in my desk." Let's see. Oh, this is just a fun little bit of trivia I found. Amazon. I'm watching the show on Amazon Video, and they had like their weird side trivia that was
Yeah.
like Jim Reed's Callie's resignation tweet, where it's like, I regret that I made a mistake, but I loved my time at ACN, and I'm the one who posted the tweet, me and me alone. And Amazon is like, that's over 140 characters. Like,
Good
thanks,
job.
someone did that work.
Good job, Amazon.
Leona comes back, and which was kind of fun, but watching her be desperate is not fun.
Yeah, that
watching
was
her
a little,
like back against the wall.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. That didn't work so well. She's just been the last 3 times or whatever we've seen her. She's been high, I guess.
Yeah,
And so that's kind of reshaped her her ground state in a way that now it's hard to pin down exactly who Leona is or what she's supposed to be acting like. So I was confused by her.
It feels very, her and Reese are just getting all this mischaracterization that I don't understand very well. I don't feel like it's very earned, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I did like her
will say-
speech. I liked the way that she was talking to the half siblings.
Yes, Randy and what's the girl's name? They both have like sort of gender neutral names, which is where they have a joke where Charlie's like, "I remember you two when you were babies. You were this and you were this," and they're like, "You got our names mixed up." And he's
Starts
like,
with a B. I don't remember what it is.
Barry.
Like Brooke or something.
I'll look it up while I talk. Randy Lansing is the best character this show has ever had. He is
Why?
on a different level good.
Why?
He's so the joke of it's so funny to me that they just have a character who's just like, I'm not listening, because like everybody on Sorkin shows is always listening and always smart and always paying attention. Blair was her name, by the way.
Blair. Yeah.
So it's Blair and Randy.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's always paying attention. Everyone's always like picking up on the snappy dialogue. Whereas if I was in the show, would be so behind and like trying to keep up. And Randy is just that. Like the joke is that he's an idiot, and that they're like, they like mention numbers, and then they're like, oh, he can't do math. Don't give him complicated numbers.
Yeah.
And then it comes back at the end where he like gets the math right, and they're like, good job, Randy. Like it kind of feels like they're demeaning his intelligence, but he's also just a rich white dude, so it's like, who cares? He's just the fun guy who's a little bit slow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I find him really charming. I just found that character like as if they were literally lifted from another program. In the few scenes that he was there.
All right, I'll buy it. I wasn't blown away by Randy, but I can understand that interpretation.
It's just that I think I like the idea of Randy because he only really gets like 2 or 3 scenes, but he's good. And then we get this scene that we referenced earlier where Will and Neil are like having this nice reminiscing moment of like, oh man, we've really gone through a lot of stuff together, man. I don't want to see you go to jail forever. When you first came to this office, I didn't even know your name. And then Neil's like, yeah, you used to call me Punjab. Like, you crazy rascal.
Oh my god.
The fuck is wrong with you?
You made that actor do that.
And it's Will. It's super parentless because Will is just like, you can get out of jail. You just give up the story, flee the city, bring like only the most basic essentials, and never come back, and you'll be fine. Bye. Do it. Bye.
The worst part is when Neil's leaving, and Will just says, "Neil Sampat," just like says his name. Like, hey, I know your name, so you matter now because I bothered to learn your name.
As we escort you off the show.
Right.
Complete nonsense. And it turns into like a Jason Bourne movie or something where they're all talking, they're all having their conversations, and then boom, FBI are in here. And like I thought this scene was kind of actually scary.
Yeah, I thought they did that pretty well.
There's something just really scary about all the dudes in the vests like flooding in at the same time, and then they're just all there. And it's just like a large quantity of people because they say like, oh, like they're gonna check the hard drives, and he's like, how can you check we have like 1 million hard drives, and she snaps her fingers and like 80 more dudes come in, and you're like, oh jeez, the FBI's the whole thing.
Yeah. And
Mackenzie's friend is back, and she's like, yeah, you guys are gonna get like super in trouble because Neil, like we know who it is, and we're looking for Neil Sampat. And then Will's like, I'm Spartacus, like as if he's gonna say like I'm Neil Sampat for a second there. I would have laughed so much if he decided to do that. But they're like, we don't know where Neil is. He left. Good luck. Start scanning the hard drives. And kind of a clever moment, I guess, but it's confusing, right? Where the intern gives Will a menu, and he's like, we're just picking dinner. Can I buy dinner for you guys? And she's like, no, no. And then he writes something in the menu, which I guess is like him circling. It's they should think it's him circling his order. At first, I was like, why didn't they notice like what he was writing? So he gives it back to the intern and is like talking to them like, oh, you guys are gonna do your investigation. Good luck. And then we cut to Neil at the end, and he is outside, like in a suit, packed and ready to go. And he breaks his phone against the side of a trash can, and like takes out the SIM card, and then burns the letter, which is the menu that Will had, which just says in big old letters, "Neil Run," which is like, oh my god, it's the title of the episode. Good job, Newsroom.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool moment from a cinematic perspective. And it was a clever idea of Will asking her to bring in the menu, but it also just played into this pattern of Will being impossibly competent.
Yeah.
Like, why would he know that he needed to do that? I don't know. I guess, whatever. I'm not going to try to reason my way through it. He just is too calm and collected and good in moments of crisis.
Like the FBI is at your door, like threatening
They're
to
in
like
your office. They're not even at your door. They're tearing up your office.
And being like, we are charging one of your employees with espionage. Like, my god. And he's like, I got this. I'm prepared for this. Neil, get out of here. You're good. Like, let's fucking do this. And it's like, where did you get the training to do? I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, we now have our season set up. We're ready to go. We got Neil on the run. We have the FBI scanning hard drives. Where's it gonna go from here?
I want to find out.
I will say there is one more major plot line that we definitely have to get to next week, because I don't think it's only in the last 2 episodes. That is like deeply, deeply bad.
All right.
I think it involves Jim. So
okay, good.
yeah,
Very
my
good.
man's. But we gotta get there, Magellan. And you know how we get there is we tell the people at home which episodes of the Newsroom we're going to be watching next week.
Next week, we're watching Season 3, Episodes 3 and 4. Main Justice is Episode 3. Leona and Reese look to raise cash in order to salvage ACN and thwart Blair and Randy. Will gets a surprise at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Charlie trades visions with ACN's suitor, Lucas Pruitt. Sloan and Dawn try to keep their relationship a secret. Episode 4, Contempt. Facing a court subpoena and possible incarceration for contempt, Will stands firm in his refusal to reveal the source of the stolen DoD documents. Sloan and Mac try to prevent ACN from falling into Lucas's hands. Jim's relationship with Hallie is tested.
She's still on the show. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun casting trivia. You know who plays Lucas Pruitt?
Who?
Motherfucking BJ Novak, baby.
What?
He's so just, yeah, dude, that's the whole thing. It's a whole thing. And we're gonna get there. We're so close. I can't believe it. I'm looking at the Amazon thing and I'm already looking at the end of the show. We're there. We're basically there. And it's gonna be a lot of fun getting there. So let's take it to the plug zone. If you would like to follow Chats on social media, we are on Twitter at ChatzPod. That's spelled ChatzPod. Check us out. You can also email us your questions, your comments, your feedback, your whatever to chatspod@gmail.com, spelled the same way. If you send us an email, we'll probably read it on the news bag the following week. And please don't forget to rate us on your favorite podcasting apps of choice. That's how people hear about the show. Recommend us to people. That is your current best way to support the pod if you like the pod. And Magellan, where can people find you on the online?
They can find me on Twitter at JustAFluke. That's JUSTAPFLUKE. They can also listen to my other program, Adulthood, which you can find at adulthood.simplecast.fm. Alan, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Alan Ibrahim. That's spelled ALLENIBRAHIM. And you can listen to me on 2 other podcasts. One is the aforementioned Fireside Friends, which I host with Ryan and my other friend Katie. It's very good. It's at firesidefriends.net. You can also listen to me on The Garnet Wager, which is a discussion podcast of The Genius, a Korean game show where my friend Six and I discussed that show while playing competitive games of our own against each other for fabulous prizes. Woo! And that's what we got. And as we head into season 3 of the Newsroom, and inevitably the conclusion of this wonderful program, I bid you, dear listener, good night.